the channel. This is Waga, and today we are finally getting down to the meat of the project. We're going to be building the the matches circle, that is circle B, the one I'm clicking on, and hooking it up with the various sliders. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. Let's get to work. We're back on our project. Let's just start things up, and we're going to look at the slider class on Flutter material. To do that, we go to api.flutter.dev, as you can see here, and we search for the slider class, right? Search for the slider class, and we're going to look at the provider. So we're going to just use the normal material design slider. If you want to use the Cupertino slider, you're free to do that, but we'll use the material slider. It has a thumb. The thumb is a big circle around that you normally move around. It has a track. The track is the line underneath, and we are going to color our track according to the primary color that it is using. So for example, the red slider will be, the track will be red, the blue, the green slider, green. So that's what we're going to do. And we're also going to have the name and the value of the slider on top of the slider, so that you can read the value. As you can see, if you look at the beginning of the thing. So let's scroll down to the constructor, and we come to the constructor. We're going to see that sliders use doubles, so we'll either have to use dynamic or num, right? We can't just use int when we are passing in values. It also has a value changed, and yeah, those are the only two that are required. I'm probably going to use the next, and it has a max, min. So for example, we can have a max of 255 in our case, and a min of 0, active color and things like that. Yeah, we're not going to use semantic fallback, callback, but we're going to use the label. Yeah. So let's get down to business, and we go back to our project, and on the lib folder we create a new file, a new DAF file. We can call it matches model. That's after the circle. Remember, we're just showing a circle here for illustration, but we'll create the match circle and put it where I'm clicking right now. Okay, so matches model, and we click OK. And as you remember, the sliders normally use what are they called? The sliders use double, so that's what we're going to use. We're going to create getters and setters for the 3 colors that we're going to use, and we're going to have change notifier and things like that, so that we can pass it on to the slider. Quick detour on the finished article. Let's just talk about everything on the slider using the actual finished article, so that you can see what we're doing. So for starters, as you can see, this red thing here, the one with the aura around it, halo, is a thumb, right? At the top we have the label, and the label has the value that the thumb is in, so you can see the value as you're moving it. And behind it you can see the active track. So the active track is the color that it represents, the primary color that we're showing. So this is red, this is green, this is blue, and you can see the same is true for all 3. So that is what the label is. The label is at the top. The thumb is a round thing here, and the active color is the portion of the track that we have covered, right? So that's what I was talking about. So let's get back to business. First things first, we need to, in the matches model, we import, as always, the Flutter material dart, as almost always, and then we create the class. We can call it color matches model. Let's call it matches model. God, spelling matches. We don't have spell check for IDs. Matches model. We're going to use the change notifier, so you can add the change notifier so that we can notify the listeners using, that is, I'm talking about provider, of course. You can use change notifier as either an extension or a mixin. So you could either say extend or you could say with, right? Either works. So we could say with change notifier. We have seen this previously, if you can remember, in the, I believe it's in the preview model. Let's check. Yeah, you can see with change notifier. You could put extension either. Either will work with change notifier. So we come here, and then we use for the three colors. We can use double underscore red. This means that this is private. We could put it at 0.0. A double is essentially a floating point number. So let's look at the documentation on double. That double, remember, that is dot. So we could say API Flutter dot dev. So let's come here and check out what it has to say about double. And yeah, a double is a floating point number. So this is a number with a decimal. And as I say, it's contagious. It returns double and double results. And some of the methods we're going to use from doubles is absolute, right? Absolute. This is when we are finally evaluating. That's towards the end. We're comparing and things like that. So a double is essentially just a floating point numbers. And as you remember, sliders use doubles. That's why we're using double, not integer here when we're building. So let's get back to business. So we create a double for red. We repeat it for green 0.0. And the underscores, makes it inaccessible outside the class. Can be called outside the class. Blue equals 0.0, like this. And next we create setters and getters. Setters allow us to access methods, read and write access to properties of classes, right? Basically that. So we could create a double and setter for each of these three colors. So we could put here double get red, and it will return red. Yeah. Set a setter for red, so that we can pass back colors, which is double, and we're going to set the value that is passed in is going to be equal to red, the value from the slider, that is, and we're going to notify listeners, right, so that there can be changes to the circle, and also the changes to the circle and the label. Okay, like that. Yeah, so let's continue. Yeah, we just repeated for the next three colors, right? Is it two colors? Oh yeah, the next two colors. Let's copy this. Copy. Come down here and do that. And we change the colors. This will be, the getter will be for green. And this will return green, like this. And this will be for green. And this will return green. The usual tedium of typing in programming. And we do the same for the blue color. Copy. We do the same. This will be blue. This is a blue getter, and I'm blue. Blue and blue. So we have the three setters and getters, and now it is time to build our slider. Okay, let's get to work. As you can see on the finished article to the right, the sliders are all identical, save for three factors. The color, the track color, you can see this one is red, this one is green, and this one is blue. The label at the top has the value of the actual slider, and I think yeah, just the label and the color and maybe the value that it shows, the value showing. So we could basically just build one widget for slider and reuse it several times. That would be the prudent thing to do rather than building independent sliders. So that's what we're going to do right now. Back to the app we're building, and what we're going to do is first just create a file here. You can call it sliders. This is where the sliders will live. Sliders dot, right? Okay. It's going to be a stateless widget. So first things first, as usual, import Flutter material dot. There should be a shortcut for importing Flutter material dot. If you know any, let me know in the comments. We can come here and type strless and hit tab, and we can call this leaders. And before we even build the slider, let's build the reusable slider. So this is going to be of type widget. It's going to return a widget. We can call it build slider. I know, much creative. And what is it going to accept named parameters, right? We could have a label, which will be a string label, yes. A color of type color, which will come from the model. A double value, which will be passed around, and of course the onChange function, which is going to be on change. Yes. And when you pass these things in, it is going to return, oh, not a plus. There you go. This is an arrow function. It's going to return, I want the label to be above the slider, so we could put like, it is a text, right? So we could return, I'm guessing a column because they're stacked vertically on top of each other. So we could have a column, right? And the column is going to have children, right? And we can put this here. And the first child is going to be the text that is going to have the label, and we're going to give it a bit of style, text style. Textile sounds like textile. We're going to give it a font size of about, let's say 20, or you could put it 16. I'll check later on how it's rendered on the Android. Let's just work with iOS right now. There are a few problems when I was originally building it because I had to make the circle smaller so it could fit in. I was using a Nexus 5 as my emulator, and I had to make the circle smaller so it could fit on a Nexus 5. Everything I've worked with works well on a Nexus 5. I don't know about other phone sizes, but it works well on Nexus 5. There are no scrolling issues. Okay, so we put a text style and we say font weight, which is going to be for capital. I don't know why it's capital sensitive. It's a bit annoying, if I'm honest. Yeah, and after that we put in now the actual slider, right? So the slider, the active color is going to be color, which is either going to be red, green, or blue. The value is going to be the value. Yeah, I hate this. It obscures you a bit. Let's give ourselves a bit more real estate when we're working. The onChanged is going to be onChanged, and the min is going to be 0, and the max is going to go, it's going to go all the way up to 255, because that's what if you can remember, that is what the color from RGBO takes, right? So yeah, that's basically it. And put a comma here for that the linter knows how it looks like. So that is the slider in essence. What we're now going to do is use it 3 times, is like reuse it 3 times, right? first things first, and here we're going to get the color from the model, right? Is to get the color from the model, and for that we use, of course, the provider. And what we're going to do is call in the color. We can call it color. Ooh, spelling. We can say provider dot of. Now, when you're using the provider.of, it's different from when you're using consumer here, because you do not want, use provider.of when you don't want the widget below to be rebuilt. But when you use consumer, as we shall, when we're building the circle B, remember circle B is not yet built, that is the matches circle. We'll use the consumer set to build every time the notifier listeners are fired. Every time we have, every time this notifier listeners are fired, like when we use the setter to change the value of green, the color here will change as a result. So here we will use the consumer, but when we are, when we do not want the sliders to be rebuilt every time, so it's inefficient to do that. I'm guessing you could use it, but yeah, it's a bit inefficient, and we don't want to do that actually. So here we could say that, and no, it matches model, right? Like this, yeah. So, and this is going to take the context, and listen, we have done this before, so I won't harp too much on it. And because we want the three sliders that we've built here to be shown line together, we could use we could return a column. I'm guessing, yeah, it's going to be a column. So what we're going to return column. Yeah, we're going to return a column here, and the children. Yeah, we could put here. We could put this. You know, you need semicolons everywhere. This is dot. The widget, the first, we're going to call the widgets to build the red color, the red slider, right? So the label here will be, we're going to use string interpolation. String interpolation allows us to insert values into strings and also do calculations, as you will see right now. So we're going to do red and use string interpolation. We could say color dot red dot to int, right? Like this, because it's a double, so we're putting it as integer so that you can see it better on the label at the top. Remember, the build method requires 4 parameters, has 4 parameters: color, value, and on function change. This is the first. So the next one will be color, and this is going to be colors.red. We're getting the colors here from Flutter, because as you know, our model only has the values, the various values. It doesn't have the actual color, so that's where we're getting the color from the Flutter itself. So that's why it's colors.red, and the value is going to get color dot red, right? And on changed, we are going to use we're going to stick V here, and it's going to return color dot red and set the value, right? The value is V. Or we could spell it out. It would be better if we spell it out rather than just say V. Value. Okay. So yeah, so that is all to do with, where is it? Okay, let's put this like this. That is the red. Let's build the green and the blue RGB. Okay, we can copy, make it easy for us, save a bit of time. Build slider. This is build slider. Yes, we could go with here green colors dot green to int like this, and make this colors dot green from material. Value in the model is going to be green here, and here it's going to be color dot screen equals value like this. So we have built up built that up. Let's put commas here so it can space it out better for us, and we copy this to build the, what's it called, we copy this to build the blue. So here it's going to be blue and color dot blue here, and here is going to be blue. This is going to be below, and finally blue. So that's it. That's our sliders more or less done. Let's show them on the screen. And show our sliders on the screen, you have to remember that the matches model, if we go to where is it, main or home? I'm guessing it's main.dart, right? If we go to main.dart, we find that we're only providing change notifier provider for preview model. That is, we started off assuming that we have only one model, but now we have to we want to bring in another model to use, right? And for that, we need to use MultiProvider. And to find out more about MultiProvider, as with everything Flutter, Flutter packages, that is, you come to pub.dev, and we can search for provider. Come here, provider, and we go down. I think it's somewhere, where it's here, MultiProvider, right? You change this provider, this is our change notifier provider, you change it to a MultiProvider where we provide the providers in an array, like provider for the matches, the preview, and then you return the child. We put it high up in the tree so that any widget below it can access it. So we need to change this, right? First things first, we would have we would put our providers in we would get rid of this. We could do this, right? Remove this widget, right? Our app will break, of course. When we save it, our app will break, and after that we return we wrap it with a widget. We could say wrap with a widget. We could say MultiProvider. We call it MultiProvider, and after the MultiProvider, we provide the various providers in an array, right? We could call it change notifier provider. The first one will be for, what's the name of the first one? The first one will be for the preview model, I believe. The preview model, and it will we'll have here create. This is all in the documentation. I'm not just typing it out of the blue or expected something. I'm just referring to the documentation, and here we can return the actual review model like this. Yeah, that's the first one. Then the next one we need is the what's it called? The change notifier provider. And it is for the matches model, right? And same thing, create, and we have the context, and it returns the matches model like this. So that's all you need to do. You need to provide the two providers for the preview model and the matches model. If we're only using one, you could just use the change notifier provider. If there's only one provider you need to use, but if you're using multiple, you need to stick them in an array, as you can see in over here. And yeah, like this is essential. And return the material app. You put it at the top somewhere. They call it ancestor or something. At the ancestor, at the top of the widget tree, so that it can be provided to widgets below. That's what you do. All this typing, we need to check whether or not it works. So we've made the sliders. We've set up the MultiProvider. We now come to home, and we put the sliders underneath and see if they will appear. This is the moment of truth. So we have sliders here. Put them like this, and yeah, they appear. But they seem to be a bit. We could put a bit of space around them, right? That would be a bit more aesthetically pleasing, right? So we would come back to sliders, and maybe we could wrap this column in some padding, wrap with padding, right? It's, yeah, they're a bit lower. I think it looks better. Yeah, so we have done the sliders. Um, this video is long, but let's just soldier on and hook up the circle, this circle here, and make sure that it works. Let's try out the slider. Ah, it works. Wait. You can see the numbers are moving and the numbers are changing on the label. Okay. The green also works and blue also works. So the sliders are more or less built. Now, the next and final thing we need to tackle is hook up this, create the matches circle. Okay, let's make a matches circle. Let's make the matches circle. As you can see, this circle here is not connected to the sliders. So we come to the lib folder and we create a new dot file. We call it matches. This is going to be a stateless widget. So first we import the Flutter material dot like so, and we come here, we type strless. We call this matches. We're going to use a consumer, like I said, because we want it rebuilt every time the notifiers fire, so that we can see the new color. So what we're going to do is we are going to come here. We're going to delete this return. Like we're going to delete the return, like so. Also delete. Find it easier when you're doing when you're working to do this. First we return the consumer, right? This is from the provider package, and we pass in our matches model, like so. From the matches model, we take in the builder, and the builder takes three different what are they called, three parameters. It has context, it has the model we're going to use, which in this case is matches model, and it has the child. We're not going to use the child, so we could just put an underscore here if we wanted. We're not going to use the child, and we're going to return this, and let's put a comma there. We're also going to use the color, right? Get the color from RGBO. We're going to use the values from the model in a RGBO, color from RGBO method. So let's, from the color class. So let's create a variable. We can call the color. We can do it all in one line. We don't have to create it like above. So this is going to be equal to color dot from RGBO, and the red is going to be matches model dot red dot. The red is currently a double, so we convert it into an integer because this color from RGBO takes integers, right? So we do the same here. Matches model dot blue. No, it's supposed to be green. Red, green. It's going to be green, and we convert it into an integer dot to int, right? So yeah, and we do the same for blue. We say matches the model dot blue dot to int. Yeah, and the opacity, remember the opacity we decided is 1. If you want to put a fourth slider with measurable with different opacity, you can, but already you have a 1 in a 16 million chance of getting this. I think it's already difficult enough. Yeah, so let's just put a 1 here, and we can put yeah, that here, and what we return, let's put a comma here, so that we can help the linter help us. And after that, what we return is we're going to reuse the circle. What we're going to just do is take the circle and pass in the color. So we could say circle, and yeah, and we import the imports, and we pass along the color, right? Like so. So if we have done everything correctly, currently this is, remember, this is, we come home here and we can see where this circle here, this circle in question is getting color from the same place that this one is getting from the previous circle, the unique color generator. But what we are going to do now to check if it works is replace this with the matches circle, and that will hook onto the values that the slider controls, and we can change our color. So this is the moment of truth. So we say matches on S like this, and oh, we are supposed to import it. So import it, and yeah, there. So let's see, is it working? Yeah, is the color changing? Yes, the color is changing. So basically we have done what we wanted to do today. We have created the matches model. We have created the matches itself, and we have created the sliders, and we have hooked everything up, put it on the screen. I think the app is now mostly done. It's just the two buttons and the evaluation left. So basically that was it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Remember, like and subscribe.